Let's talk to the Labour MP for Slough, Tan Desi, now, because our main news is that 5 more people have died at Wexham Park Hospital in Slough just in the last 24 hours or so. Morning, Tan.
Good morning, Andrew.
In terms of our area, Slough seems to be particularly badly hit so far by people contracting COVID-19 and sadly some people losing their lives.
Yes, and it's extremely sad news. And as you've rightly pointed out, that in terms of Berkshire, in terms of our county, Slough does seem to have the largest number of cases and unfortunately also the largest number of fatalities. But I think that's also got to do with the fact that it's such a huge business hub in terms of a lot of people, tens of thousands of people coming there to work every day. You've also got the fact that it's close to Heathrow. And I think in terms of Wexham Park Hospital itself, that also serves parts of Beaconsfield and parts of Maidenhead as well as Slough itself. So given the size of the hospital, I think that's and also I'd like to commend Wexham Park Hospital because I did have a meeting with them more than a week ago, and that was to discuss what actions were being taken within the hospital. And I was very pleased to see that they had initiated a different coronavirus pod. They had also cleared an entire floor in preparation for an increased number of patients and so on. So they are trying to do their level best, but I think as we are expecting to see examples like Italy and elsewhere, that we are expecting a surge in cases.
I mean, actually, they've got a brand new A&E at Wexham Park, which has its own facility for this kind of thing. I remember them showing me around it when it was first opened, and not taking it too lightly, but saying, "Oh well, we'll probably never need this." But new hospitals have this facility where people go if they're admitted and they have something that we really don't want them to pass on to other people. So actually, Wexham Park is pretty well equipped.
Yes, and I would like to reassure your listeners that they are doing their level best, and as you said, they've got state-of-the-art facilities, so they've made preparations accordingly. And when the chief executive of the council, myself, we met with the chief executive of the Frimley Health Trust and their deputy chief medical officer. So when we discussed, the various preparation, and also asked our own questions, and then we discussed what the council itself was doing. So I'm pretty confident in terms of the facilities available for the public, but it's just now, Andrew, we need to ensure that people get the message about social distancing. They all, we need to stay at least 2 meters apart and try to work from home as much as is practicable in terms of those people that don't need to go out to work, that they heed the government and the expert medical advice, because if they don't, they, regardless of how much state-of-the-art facilities we might have here in Wexham Park or in Berkshire or in our country, we will be inundated. So I think it's about people being responsible.
Yeah. Have you seen, I mean, a lot of us have had different experiences over the weekend. Have you seen there to be a particular problem in your constituency in Slough with people still mixing, being very close together?
Yes, unfortunately, amongst certain people, they were not taking the advice seriously. Many of them were interacting. I had various discussions also with, in particular, leaders within the Asian community or the African community, whereby many of them were still interacting, going house to house as they would normally. So while many of them may have been at home, they were still going about, going and visiting relatives and looking out for one another. And I think that message of social distancing hadn't quite got through to everybody. And we then also had discussions in terms of the various faith groups. I'm very, very pleased to say that finally many of them have now closed for services, because I know for many people faith is particularly important. And when they go to, say, for example, the local church or their mosque or the gurdwara or the temple, but while we acknowledge that, I think we've got to realize that this pandemic is, it's like nothing that we've seen before in our country and in fact in the world. And that's why such stringent action needs to be taken. And also there are examples of people going out to the supermarkets and not observing social distancing.
And do you think that the message from government is clear enough? You know, do you think we're being told in clear enough terms not to do these things, even if not everyone is heeding the advice? Or do you think the message needs to change in some way?
I want to commend the action of the government to some extent in that at least they're getting the message out. But there have been too many mixed messages, and the likes of myself have been calling that out to say, look, this isn't the way to be dealing with it. The way that we should be dealing with it is in a lot firmer, clearer, concise messaging. I'll give you an example of mixed messaging in that, it was said to pubs and clubs and whatever, just, you can stay open, but there wasn't actually a requirement. And even the messaging of taking children out or going out into the park, that's not where we should be going. If we look at examples from other nations, whether it's in terms of South Korea or Japan, or different, what people are actually doing is, if you take kids out to a local park, how are you going to stop them from, or how are you going to get them to observe social distancing? You can't. So therefore, there's a weakness, and it's this sort of mixed messaging which is very, very bad. And even in terms of the package that's come from the government, in terms of help for the employed, in terms of the 80%, unfortunately, that has left out more than 5 million people who are self-employed or who are freelancers. Those people, they can't live on statutory sick pay.
Well, we're supposed to hear about freelancers from the Chancellor Rishi Sunak today, I believe. We're going to get some bit more on that later. Tan, thank you very much. Tan Desi is the Slough MP.